I mean, you got to be burly to weather the storms.
Yeah, when you're in negative 10-degree winters and stuff like that every year, like your body has to put the extra. I think I would fare well in Minnesota.
Definitely.
I've got that whale-like blubber, to protect me from the elements.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the 5-Star Jobbers Podcast. I'm Cody.
And I quit. I'm afraid of stairs.
Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about with Clash at the Castle.
You mean Botch at the Castle?
Yeah, definitely Botch at the Castle. There was a lot of things that did not go well about that.
No, and most of it really was. It's just botches left and right. And, things that... I mean, some avoidable, some not avoidable.
Right.
But then, the I Quit match, the ending, it just wasn't believable. I mean,
no.
It's like AJ put so much heat on Cody, and then Cody did not get a lot of offense in that match, and
even the offense that he did, it was just like, wait a minute, this is what you're quitting for?
Yep. Nope.
But anyway, we'll get into that here in just a little bit. We don't want to take too much time on it. But first of all, thank you guys for listening, and thank you for subscribing to our podcast and our YouTube channel. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. I mean, you've been listening to us for how long?
I'm starting to feel used.
Yeah,
I'm starting to feel like just like dirty.
You just feel cheap.
Like you hide. You hide our relationship. You don't tell people that you listen. You don't
show us to the world.
Yeah.
Proclaim your love for us.
Yeah.
Shout it on the mountaintops.
Make us proud to give you, auditorial enjoyment.
Exactly. But anyway, if you're new to the podcast, thank you for listening and thank you for checking us out. Like I said before, we are on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We're on YouTube as well. You can see all of our video episodes on here from season 2 and commentary content as well. But we want to let you guys know of some upcoming events that we're going to be at that you definitely want to check out. First one, the Guardians Legacy Summer Bash, June 22nd. That's this Saturday. You don't want to miss out on it. At the Rosenwald High School Gym in Panama City, Florida. Doors open at 6 p.m. Bell time is at 7 p.m. Don't miss out on it. It's going to be great. We're going to be there doing commentary. You're going to get to see some incredible people, and you get to hear and see us. I don't know what that was, but...
It's my angelic voice.
I think that might be devilish there. But anyway... DCCW Heat Wave, June 29th at the Baker County Fairgrounds in McClenny, Florida. Doors open at 5:30 and bell time is at 6:30. We're going to be there doing commentary as well. We hope to see you guys there as well. Some incredible events going on. We hope to see you guys there. But for this episode, we wanted to get into something that we've kind of been talking about as we've been progressing in this podcast and just in casual conversation, A lot of new professional wrestling fans that are just now getting into the business or just now getting into watching the product, a lot of them don't realize the history that came before what we have today. And a lot of the stuff that we have right now is based on multiple territories and multiple promotions that help shape the business and help shape what we have now.
Yep.
And so in talking with different individuals in the wrestling business and talking to different promoters, we've kind of developed our own opinions in some way, shape, or form as to the top territories that we think are, I guess you could say, the foundation, the core of professional wrestling in a way.
And it's really hard to narrow down. I mean, just in the United States alone, obviously there's Canada, there's Mexico, there's Japan.
Right.
There's lots of wrestling territories all over the world.
Right.
So first of all, we had to make it a digestible amount. So we're focusing just on the United States, but even more so, it's really short-sighted, and I think it would be impossible to pick one territory or one promotion. So even so, we're not even saying one territory is the most influential, but we wanted to go by state.
Right.
So that's what we'll be doing, is not necessarily the territory. And we'll talk about territories in the states, but more or less we're kind of going to, what we want to drill down is where we think the most profound long-term impact, like what state, gun to your head, do you think had the most profound impact on the modern era of professional wrestling.
And we've gone back and forth, and we both agree and disagree on some things. But
I'm right. He's wrong. But opinions, that makes people think they're valid.
Right.
He's just one of those, snowflakes.
Excuse me?
I said what I said.
Whatever. But we've kind of narrowed it down to the ones that we feel like have the most, like, I don't want to say impact, because, they each have a part in their development in the professional wrestling business. And so, because, if we went state by state, each one had their own unique contributions to the business. And so, see, my top one that I always go to that always pops in my head, I always think of Tennessee as like the top one, in my opinion. And I know that you've got a different one on your end.
Well, I say Texas.
Right. See, and both are very valid points, and both are very valid.
You could make the argument for Texas, Florida, Georgia,
right,
the Carolinas,
yes,
Tennessee. You could make
even some of the Midwest. Like Illinois.
Ohio. The North, the northern parts too, like AWA out of Minnesota.
Right.
Some of the stuff in the Midwest.
Even some in like Washington or Oregon.
Well, they had like Roddy Piper, and some people around his time came out of that area. Abdullah the Butcher came out of Stampede. That's another thing. We're not talking about Canada, but like obviously you're going to talk about wrestling, Stampede Wrestling territory. Like I said, there's so many amazing territories that had amazing talent, that had profound influences on the business. But at the end of the day, if you want to try to rank them or put them into some quantitative analysis, I think that you would sit down and think, okay, well, Florida's got a lot,
right?
Georgia's got a lot, but the more you do, the more we delved into this, the more we kind of found that there are two states that just tend to produce a little more than others,
right? And have a lot more like heritage behind them. Not saying anything against the other states, but just these two have a lot more behind them as far as like history goes. But like I said, nothing to take away from any of these other ones. But we'll get into it here in a little bit. Like, do you want to start off with yours, or do you want to just kind of piggyback?
We'll piggyback a little bit. So you go, you go ahead and exacerbate yourself, baby, and then Daddy will come in and make everything better.
Don't ever call yourself Daddy again.
It is. It was just Father's Day, and I am,
touche,
a daddy.
True.
To many.
But anyway, so mine, I go with Tennessee just because the Memphis style has been absorbed by so many different promotions and so many different territories, not just in Tennessee, but all throughout like Georgia, the Carolinas, Kentucky, and so on and so forth. That Memphis style, and what I mean by Memphis style, for those of you that don't know, that are still picking up on the terms that we use and picking up on different phrases. Memphis style is they stay true to kayfabe. They were very stiff with their strikes and their movements.
Very character oriented.
Yeah, very character oriented. And they also had longer feuds.
Yeah.
So like storylines lasted a little bit longer. They weren't real big on like squash matches. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just
they had squash matches, but I get what you're saying. Like I said, it was more character and story based,
right?
And oftentimes when people say the Memphis way of doing things, there's a lot of trickery, schmaz, gaga.
Right.
Those are other terms. If you're unfamiliar, gaga is like funny, ha ha.
There's a lot of like
schmaz is a lot of things going on, so it's easy to get. They're trying to trick the crowd. So when you're, say you're having a match and you don't want either wrestler to have to lose, then you'd have, you'd have a schmaz, you'd have some kind of they'd say a Memphis style ending.
Right.
And I would say it became true to the term because they figured out ways where, a disqualification would happen or double pin, double count out.
Right.
Just something.
It was just a way to keep it going and to make the storyline or make the feud last a lot longer.
Yeah, feuds would last longer, and then a lot of wrestlers would feel very comfortable coming in from other territories because they would know, hey, if I don't want to do the job, we can figure something out, right?
Right, exactly.
And so, the Jarretts and Jerry Lawler.
Jim Cornette.
You can sit there and talk about Memphis style. You can have the Smoky Mountain style.
Yep. Good old Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Yeah, and I've seen when I lived in Knoxville, I went to many a show in Johnson City.
Man, I wish I was around during that time.
Well, I mean, it wasn't that long ago.
Well, I mean, but still, it was like in the mid '90s or so.
Well, no. I'm not talking about the heyday. I'm talking about today. Like the Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Yeah. I was talking about like the heyday Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Yeah, but the NWA Smoky Mountain still very much lives on. They have shows in Johnson City and in Knoxville all the time. And I don't know if it's still up, but in Knoxville, they Glenn Jacobs, who's the mayor of Knox County, better known as Kane for anybody else,
right?
And Tom Pritchard,
right,
he's a very well known, very well respected wrestling trainer. He had his hand in the Rock, Kurt Angle, a lot of the early 2000s superstars learned from Dr. Tom.
Yeah,
but it might still be going on. I'm not sure. It was when I left. But they had a wrestling school in Knoxville.
Yeah.
And so it's Knoxville is still very much a hotbed for professional wrestling, just the East Tennessee area as a whole.
Oh yeah.
And so is West Tennessee, where the Memphis area is. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think Tennessee has a lot to offer. Go ahead. Like I said,
like I said, we'll kind of just go back and forth.
Yeah, so you talk about you talk about the tenets of Tennessee wrestling. You say more character based, more showmanship, performance. Less athletic. I mean, they definitely had athletic focus on things, but it wasn't all about athleticism. A lot of it's about, showmanship and things like that.
Right.
See, when you get in the Texas area, they very much put on a show, but it was more brutality. Texas is definitely more of a just hard-hitting, there were definitely characters, but it wasn't a lot of gaga. There's not a lot of ha-ha.
Right. It was more like ground and pound,
serious characters. More just like individual wrestlers, like are who they are, just with the volume turned up.
Right.
And the story. They did have long-term storylines. A lot of the NWA champions came out of Texas. And just to name some people coming out of Texas, obviously the Funks, Terry and Dory Jr., who were both NWA champions. Dusty Rhodes came out of Texas.
And both had affiliations with NWA, because you look at Continental Wrestling Association with Jerry Jarrett being the manager of there. They had a lot of affiliation with NWA, especially in like the late 70s, I believe. And so they had NWA champions come in along with them and defend titles on their shows. And
that's how the NWA ran. Is that the NWA was a conglomerate that basically married all of the territories together. So just because somebody wrestled in Texas doesn't mean they didn't travel to Tennessee the next week and work in Tennessee for a week, and then go work in Minnesota, and then go work in the Carolinas, and then back down to Georgia, then to Florida, then back to Texas. Right. It was a circuit.
Yeah,
and
there were some that traveled, but then you had your staples that were solely, well, not solely based, but mostly you saw them in that state. Because you had the Von Erichs.
You had your guys that would do like half the, they might do half the year in one state. So that's kind of like a local.
Right.
I said, but then the guys would always, like I said, they would go and they'd travel, and then they'd also do the international travel. But yeah, you definitely had your hometown, people that they would claim and that would stick. So like obviously with the Jarretts, you had Jerry Lawler.
Right. So that's my go-to. Like whenever I think of like staples in Tennessee wrestling, or like prolific, I just made up a new word.
Prolific?
Yeah, prolific, prominent figures in Tennessee wrestling. I always think of Jerry Lawler. I think of the Rock and Roll Express. Mm-hmm. Who's the tag team that they fought so many times? The
Midnight Express?
No, it was Pritchard and what's his name? He's like Jimmy Lee something. Jimmy Del Rey. It was the Heavenly Bodies. Heavenly Bodies.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
But and plus they had like a lot of young talent that came through there as well. That
Bam Bam Bigelow got his start out of there.
Bob Holly, Kane, but didn't really have much of a great character at the time. It was like, what was it called? It wasn't the Unabomber. It was something like that.
No, I think it was like the Unabomber, or the Atom Bomber, or something like that.
I think it was the Unabomb.
the uniball. It was
something like that.
It was dog crap, is what it was.
It wasn't good, but
no, I don't disagree with you. Like that, Tennessee has a lot of merit in this conversation as one of the top ones. But where I kind of where I land on Texas, I would say that the Gaga and like the way they wrote matches and book matches is definitely has had a profound impact on 80s, 90s, 2000s in now. But the realism of Texas wrestling, I think, when we talk about storylines and we talk about engaging storylines and we talk about protecting kayfabe and things like that, in Texas they protected kayfabe too, to the point where if somebody was new and they didn't trust them, they would beat them up it was a straight shoot, so that if anybody had any question whatsoever whether the match was real, somebody who might have gone in for a short cup of coffee could tell you, no, I got my butt kicked in at the Sportatorium.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the cool thing about it, because both Texas and Tennessee, they both had like that strong, hard-hitting style, and they both had very good feuds with storylines. I'd look at Tennessee and think probably the biggest one that I can think of is with Jerry Lawler and Jimmy Hart.
Oh yeah, Jerry Lawler and Jimmy Hart.
Jimmy Hart would like go and send like multiple people to try and defeat Jerry Lawler and try and pin him against him. I think because he brought guys like Eddie Gilbert, even Bill Dundee and Terry Funk, and so. But
never forget where the Funks came from.
Oh no!
The Funky Conservatory.
They originally came from Texas.
Those are Texas boys who walked into the ring with their cowboy boots and their bull ropes on them for many, many years.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so if we're going to talk rivalries and stories, okay, the biggest one of the 70s is cannot without a doubt has got to be the Freebirds versus the Von Erichs.
Yeah, definitely.
Come on.
I'm not going to dispute that.
Bad Street, come on.
Yeah, I'm not going to dispute that.
Bad Street, Atlanta, GA. Bad Street in the whole USA. And then,
I'm
the
not disputing
Freebirds.
That was probably one of the best rivalries during that time.
But you had
Easily.
the Freebirds in the 70s. And then, like I said, you've got... So then in the late 80s and early 90s, you've got the training up in Texas of Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels,
right?
The Undertaker, John Bradshaw Layfield.
Mark Henry.
Now Mark, I think Mark comes out of Texas, but Mark wasn't necessarily a Texas wrestler,
right?
Mark won his strongman competition, and then he was an Olympian in the '96 Olympics, and it was that got WWE's interest, and so he did do some learning in Texas. But this one I kind of want to stick to. Let's say who came out of where, and let's say what values came out of that,
right?
And just say Dusty Rhodes is a Texas origin.
Yes.
So I don't think there's a whole lot of beating that. The only one you can go to above that would be Ric Flair. But Rick actually came
from the Carolinas. Though.
No, actually, believe it or not, Rick came out of Minnesota. Ric Flair started off in the AWA, and after the plane crash, though, his style had to change. And so when he was in the Carolinas, that's where he switched up his style to more of a gaga, ha-ha, bad guy, more ring performance and less ring technician.
Right.
Even though he is still a great technician. That Minnesota AWA style was very much like almost wanted to pull from shoot amateur wrestling, heavy bodybuilding, a lot, probably even less.
Look at guys like Brock Lesnar.
Well, yeah. It's just cold up there, so bodies are bigger.
Yeah. You got to be burly to weather the storms. And
stuff. When you're in negative 10-degree winters and stuff like that every year, like your body has to put the extra. I think I would fare well in Minnesota.
Definitely.
I've got that whale-like blubber, to protect me from the elements.
But
no. So the thing about Texas, let's say we can talk about the Texas Coliseum, talk about the Sportatorium.
Look at Memphis, or you can talk about the Mid-South Coliseum, where you'd see Continental Wrestling Association on TV with NWA all the time. There's a lot that we could go into, and we could sit here and talk about it all the time, but we don't want to keep everybody for more than an hour or so. But there's so much to pull from both, but we can all agree, Texas and Tennessee both had that kind of, you knew who the bad guys were and you knew who the good guys were.
Yeah.
Like there was no anti-hero at the time, or no.
I don't think anti-heroes became a thing really until the 90s, and at that point the territories were gone. But what's funny is we talk about Tennessee and Texas, and it's funny because you're going for Tennessee, but you're, like I said, I'm older, I'm smarter, I'm just overall better. You forgot to mention.
You said older first, so
you forgot to mention that Tennessee bought out the Texas's biggest territory.
Yeah.
So at the end of it, before they both wrapped up, Jerry Jarrett bought from the Von Erichs, WCCW, and that they merged it with was it USWA?
Yep.
And that was to say that's where you had guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker working the territories during that buyout. Before they got their breaks, both of them with WCW, and then eventually getting over to WWF and becoming household names.
Right.
The real story of everything is how WCW managed to let like all the greatest professional wrestlers come through their doors and still not be able to beat Vince.
Yeah. It's crazy, but yeah, I mean, like I said, we could sit here and talk about it for hours on end, probably for days on end. But when looking at top wrestling territories, as far as like heritage goes, I just think that Tennessee holds more like prestige in a way. Not taking anything against Texas or any other territory, but I just always refer back to Tennessee during Smoky Mountain Wrestling, Memphis Wrestling, Continental Wrestling Association, like all these different, like the Jim Crockett kind of days. Well, Jim Crockett was more
Jim Crockett would have been the Carolinas.
Yeah, Jim Crockett was more Carolinas, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, Mid-Atlantic. Yeah. Mid-Atlantic within the Georgia Championship Wrestling becomes world class or becomes World Championship Wrestling. Like I said, there's a lot of intersection, in the territory. So it's hard to delineate, it's like a chicken and egg situation. Who's responsible for what?
Right.
So for the most part, what I would look at would be rivalries and talent that came out. And at the end of the day, the rivalries between the Von Erichs and the Freebirds, Gentleman Chris Adams and just about everybody on the roster. And then to say the talents that came out, Dusty Rhodes. I mean, he's on my Mount Rushmore. Stone Cold Steve Austin, who's on a lot of people's Mount Rushmore. The Undertaker, who's on yours.
Yeah.
Tennessee. Tennessee was big on booking, but their homegrown talent, to me, was just not that it's not amazing.
Right, yeah.
It's just not, to me, Texas had the bigger list of stars.
Yeah, and I'll give that to Texas.
Texas wrestlers also had, Texas territories had more NWA title reigns than the Tennessee territory.
Yeah, and I'm not going to take away from that because, like you said, I mean, you got the big names like Stone Cold, The Undertaker, and all those guys.
Booker T, Stevie Ray.
Yeah, all these guys. And, of course, most of the talent that came from Tennessee, you don't really hear much of unless it's Jerry Lawler or Jimmy Hart. Mm-hmm. But you still had guys that had some impact in the business and are very much household names, especially for those that grew up in the 70s or 80s. You had guys like Austin Idol, Jimmy Valiant, like a whole bunch of different guys that came through there. But, yeah, I mean, overall,
Soul Man went through Tennessee for a long time. I mean, obviously he's more associated with Polynesian pro wrestling because of his family ties and things like that. But he worked many years in the state of Tennessee.
Yeah,
like I said,
also found
guys like Bam Bam Bigelow,
like some ECW stars.
A lot of ECW stars actually got trained in Tennessee.
Yeah, Al Snow, New Jack. Now, granted, New Jack didn't have the best gimmick going for him. If you know the story of him and his tag partner. It was very, very racist. I'll say that. I mean, you can't dispute that.
I'm not disputing it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was not a very good gimmick that they had going for him. I'm not going to go into full detail about it because
history. People like to look at history through a lens of of perfect vision, but I don't know. Like, I'm not defending it. I'm just saying. Nowadays, everything's more racist than it ever was before. So, of course, you can look at the...
I don't know, because, I mean, there was a lot of stuff back in the day.
There was a lot of stuff back in the day from every territory. And
in the mid-2000s or early 2000s.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, Vince was guilty of it. Bischoff was guilty of it. The Lawlers were guilty of it. It just... Unfortunately... you don't know better until you know better,
Yeah.
and then you can look back and go, oh, that was wrong. But until you know, you don't know. So
You just got to look at the time period as to what was going on. But even then, it was still viewed very much as a bad
there's many
gimmick.
other reasons to eliminate New Jack from any kind of positive conversation. But
man.
I will say he knew how to blade quite well,
Yeah.
almost too well, some would say.
Yeah, definitely. But, that's pretty much our talk about territory. We'll call it talking territories.
It's talking territories, and we'll do more of it. Next time we'll probably do a focus territory, and just kind of go through the history of it. Maybe Florida, maybe Georgia, maybe the Carolinas, maybe Minnesota, maybe Polynesian. I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna go all over.
You guys can help us. Let us know what you want to hear about. We do listen to you.
Yeah, leave comments on Facebook. We share stuff on our social media all the time. Leave comments for us on things you'd like to hear us talk about, or if you want to hear more territory talk, we'll talk about something in the Florida area, Carolinas, North, wherever you want us to go.
Yeah,
we may even go international.
If you want me to do weird, mean stuff to Cody, just let me know. I'm easily talked into that kind of thing.
Don't even encourage that. But anyway, guys, it's time for some high spots and botches. So, I feel like we have a lot more botches to talk about, but I'm just going to narrow it down.
Last week was the week of high spots. This week is the week of botches.
Yeah, I will say I gave one high spot for something this weekend. Only one.
Okay.
But do you want to start with the botches first and then go for the high spot?
No. Let's start with the high spots.
Okay. I was going to say, we get in on a high note. Just do something different, but...
All right, let's end on a high note.
Yeah. Let's not end on a sour note. Let's not leave the viewers thinking, well, gosh, I'm never going to watch WWE live events again. We want you to keep watching because the product is better.
That's phenomenal psychology and thinking. Thus, it begs the question, why are we just now coming up with this?
I know, right?
I'm looking at you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, this is your segment.
Yeah. I'm just denying anything. Okay, anyway.
Deny.
As far as botches go, I know you probably got a ton, but I just narrowed it down to one. Mine was the women's tag team match at Clash of the Castle.
Which one are you? There were many in that match.
Yeah, just overall. I couldn't narrow it down to one because there were so many different ones.
So how about the botch of, so we got the springboard botch?
Well, here's the thing. Most of it was on Jade Cargill's end.
Yes, well, I mean...
The majority of it was on Jade Cargill.
And she is the greenest in that ring, so,
But I mean, even then, and everybody was saying, like, oh, the middle rope wasn't tightened up enough, but even then...
Wasn't a problem for a lot of other wrestlers who used the ropes that same night.
See, and this is me being, like, old fogey and trying to say, like, get people her size, like whether it's men or women her size, should not be doing springboard moves or not be doing high-flying moves.
I agree with that.
I think, like, if you are of a certain size or stature...
And and I'm not going to say you should never do them, but it should not be a routine thing.
Exactly. It should be like
if you're
one of those,
big
maybe...
and you do a top rope move, you should do it like twice a year tops.
Exactly, yeah. Because, I mean...
It loses its meaning. The more you do anything, it loses its meaning. Like, if you do it, to me, I think one of the coolest, most devastating moves in the history of professional wrestling was the Canadian Destroyer.
Yes.
But you do 1,000 Canadian Destroyers, and now it's a DDT, it's a super kick. Like, people do the Canadian Destroyers, and the people get right back up.
Yeah.
Same thing could be true. Like, one that's been really well protected is the Vertebreaker.
I've got my own hot take on no cells, but I don't want to get too much into that.
I don't want to get you too fired up there, big man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't even get me started on no cells.
Yeah. He gets so ferocious.
I can't help it. Like, and AEW's guilty of this. And I'm sorry, I'm about to go on a tangent right now, but this is my hot take.
He's about to have
AEW has become the epitome of no cells. Look at the whole shtick with Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta in their last match. If someone of Orange Cassidy's stature is getting pile driven on the top of their head on the steel steps, common sense would say, like, in a real life situation, he's not going to get right back up from that in probably the next 5 to 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that same exact move be done, and the wrestler doesn't get up. The medical professionals have to come out. He leaves on a board with a C-collar and doesn't come back for weeks.
Yes.
That's how that move should be used.
Exactly.
Not it happens, and then 30 seconds later you're up. Because 30 seconds later you're up. Like a scoop slam, someone scoops you up, slams you, 5 seconds you get up. A DDT maybe is a 30, like, give you a couple seconds to get up.
Like any move where you were dropped like on the crown of your head should not be instantaneous kip up.
Well, and here's the other thing too. When someone drops you on your head like that, this is a competition. Why do a move like that and not go for a pin?
Exactly.
Like when you do a move that's devastating, like a pile driver inside the ring, in the side of the ring. Now, obviously, I can understand on the steel steps, you'd have to pick the guy up and throw him in the ring.
Right.
But see, that's what you'd want to do.
Even then, it could be like one of those things
pick the guy up and he should be ragdolled into the ring. Like he should be limp. His body should be not moving. And then by the time he gets him in the ring, because his body is hard to move, and he gets in there and he gets the pin, and it's 1, 2, and then maybe at that last second you have a kick out, and so you have a hot take. You're still selling, but he just that last courageous grasp that he can be moving, but
you need to have time.
Not 30 seconds, and then he's running and does a move that's less damaging. That would also require him to weigh more than his opponent for it to be as damaging as they make it seem.
Right.
And then he wins the match right then and there.
Right.
It's like, I forgot I was supposed to go for the pin after my finishing move.
Yeah.
But Orange Cassidy can go for the pin anytime he wants.
That
Part's
we got
stupid.
off on a tangent there.
Everything about AEW's stuff right there is stupid. Now, MJF is making some things better, but as far as selling goes, and this is where I'm really worried, with the Ricochet of it all, is I really, really, really hope Ricochet doesn't go to AEW. Because
honestly, I don't think he will.
I hope.
And here's the reason why: they have just done a perfect job at building Ricochet up. Because here's the thing, he resigns. Give him some time to recover, because I think he was injured, like for real in that. Or I don't know if it was.
No, he wasn't injured for real. No, that was just him getting written off of TV because
Okay.
he said that he's not planning on re-signing. Now,
But
that
here's
doesn't
the
mean
thing.
that doesn't mean that in the 11th hour he can't be persuaded to go the other way. Money talks.
Exactly.
And
That's
the
what I'm
fact that
saying.
fact that his fiance works there, to go anywhere else, he's going to be eliminating a lot of time.
Yeah, but here's what I was saying, because that whole moment, and Bully Ray talked about this on on the Busted Open podcast as well.
Yep.
When Braun Breaker picked Samantha Irvin's face up from the chin and looked at her and said, "I did that." There is your bully. There is your guy that just throws his weight around, just picks on the little guys, and then give it like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Then you hear Ricochet's music come out. He drops the whole, I don't know what you'd call it, but he comes out and he
drops his white meat baby face thing and actually has some
comes
personality.
out and makes a beeline for Braun Breaker and just gives it everything he's got. Then you got people that are going to believe
absolutely.
in Ricochet.
Oh, 100%.
And actually get behind him, and that's where you build him up to be a great champion.
No, I'm fully with you on that, and I think there is a possibility, and I think they can pitch that opportunity for Ricochet, because I don't think Ricochet's not leaving for money. He's leaving because his style of wrestling, he only has so many bumps left on his bump card, and he's got to try to figure out how to get himself as over as possible and make as much money as possible so that he can retire sooner and live, a little bit, enjoy his life a little bit before he becomes immobile.
Right.
And he realizes that at WWE, there's almost a guarantee that won't happen.
Right.
And so, as he's seen with many of his other people, that you go somewhere else, you prove yourself elsewhere, and then WWE will hire you back in a second. As long as you don't, even if you do leave on bad terms, they're pretty good about bringing you back. Look at CM Punk.
Exactly.
But
sorry, we got off on a tangent.
But no, I mean, like the botch on that is that's been our botch for a long time, is bad selling. But no, my biggest and this kind of goes into my botch. The accidents happen, and at the end of the day, Jade Cargill. She made some very avoidable mistakes, but she's still, like, if you look at every woman that was in that ring, she's the greenest. She has been in the business less time than all the rest of those women. So mistakes are going to happen. I think she recovered well from the springboard. I would honestly say the worst mistake she made was the tap.
Yes.
Because she could tell she was trying to sell, but she was selling with her hands.
Yeah, and you can do that, but you can't.
You can do it like this.
Yeah, you can do like reach for the rope, grab the neck and everything.
Like do this, but she was doing this.
Yeah,
which is tapping.
Yeah,
like this. I understand that she was like no, but you grab it. You grab the thing and you try to pull it. You don't do this because
she was lucky that the official didn't see.
She was lucky the official didn't see it, but the commentators did because she was on the camera doing this, and so then they had to call it. They had to. You can't BS the crowd. You can't pretend like things don't happen unless you're a heel commentator. Then you can do it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's great to do it to him because it makes him so mad.
Oh, he gets on their skin the whole lot.
But yeah, no, that I can give a lot of leeway to that. Because I think Jade Cargill's a fantastic performer. She's got to learn some things. She has time. She's got really good teachers. Like, those are just mistakes. And, like, the springboard thing, Ricochet's done that. Rey Mysterio's done that. People who have been wrestling
AJ
for
Styles
decades.
has done it.
Like, you go up to the springboard, that thing literally is covered in plastic and sweat. So it's going to get slippery and things are going to happen. That's unavoidable. I'm never going to crap on a wrestler for... a slip or something like that. I'm just going to hope that they're safe.
Yeah. Because, we saw how bad it ended whenever...
the Damian Priest one...
That one scared me.
That scared the crap out of me. And honestly, like, he lucked out by getting wrapped up in the ropes because otherwise he would have gone straight down on his head.
Yes.
That was a scary moment. Whew. But no, the biggest botch to me, and this is because the two men in the ring are veterans, ring generals, and... They may not have been, they're not the producers, but they help to produce their own matches.
Yeah.
And the I Quit match, the finish to the I Quit match was, to me, unforgivable.
Yeah.
AJ Styles, Cody Rhodes, between them, the amount of wrestling intelligence and acumen.
There's no excuse.
Those guys are professors of MIT of professional wrestling.
Yes.
They're geniuses. And that kind of it was a good hard hitting match, and AJ did a lot. He put a lot.
I love the heel work that he did.
He did
going back and forth with Cody Rhodes' mom. I loved it.
That's what I'm saying. He did fantastic heel work, and then where you have Cody on the comeback, and this is an opportunity for Cody, who is very much a white meat babyface, to get some grit on him, some justified anger, like bust open AJ, just kind of cross that line, be mentally broken for a second. People want to see that.
Yeah.
But no, he's got steel steps in his hand, which we know AJ's been hit with steel steps many, many times.
Yeah.
This guy was the king of the X division for years and years and years in Impact.
Yep.
He quits. He does all this to get in this match, and then the steel steps. He's gonna. I quit.
It made no sense whatsoever.
Well, and it definitely doesn't help that 3 weeks ago, or was it 2 months ago, the I Quit match between Edge and Christian, where Christian doesn't quit until he gets a nailed baseball bat to the cojones.
Yeah.
That will make a man say I quit. Actually, it'll make him say I quit.
Yeah, it'll be like
I quit. Yeah, no, but we were just there. It was the problem is the teases. It's okay, Cody's is giving it to him now. Cody, I wanted him to snap. I wanted him to beat AJ and not only win, but win in a way that made the crowd slightly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
this guy's got another speed that I haven't even seen before.
Yeah.
And that makes him a more believable champion. That makes him a bigger draw. That gets him to the next spot, which for him, there's only so many more places he can go. But the longer it takes for him to get there, the less marketable he's going to be.
Right.
You've already got people talking about how they need to bring back Roman Reigns and da-da-da-da-da. They need Cody to have more edge, and they need an I Quit match between someone like Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles to be far more believable with an ending than that. AJ Styles, it just wasn't believable.
No, it wasn't.
So the crowd, the crowd's at that point, they're okay, we're happy Cody won, but I feel a little bit gypped.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this, as is being dubbed, the Scotland screw job.
Yeah. See, now, I put this as my high spot.
Yeah?
Because the finish to this was
chef's kiss, eh?
Pure perfection.
I love the camera work.
Yes.
When Punk slides in, you don't know it's Punk, and you just see the 1, 2,
and then he gets up and it's like,
and then when you see them not count, you're like, oh, I know who it is.
Yeah.
And then the camera angle goes to the face, and he's got that look. Just,
I love it.
it was
Loved it.
That part. I mean, that part was good. I'm not gonna lie. The rest of the match wasn't great.
No.
Which, like I said, they kind of screws the whole situation, because I think had that been more of a back and forth match with better chemistry, the screw job would have been that much worse. But like I said, they still got to the point. You know, he got the Claymore. It would have been, you know, I think the crowd had counted to like 15 by the time Punk got in. So it's like, you know, Priest 100% could claim he was screwed out of it. And this time, he was legitimately screwed as opposed to screwing himself.
Yeah.
So I like that. I'm a very big fan of that, because had he screwed himself again, it would just be rehashing the same story, and it would get old. But now, like, where Punk has legitimately...
Now Drew has a legitimate reason.
Yes.
Now he has validation for why he thinks Punk has screwed him out of his opportunities, because this time he actually did.
He 100% did screw him this time.
Here's the thing I don't like, because if you saw the press conference afterwards and you saw CM Punk talking about how fans are wanting the next match to be something like Hell in a Cell or something like I Quit match or Death match or something like that. And he's like, slow your roll.
Yeah.
Like, let it build, let it fester, let them have a simple one-on-one match, or let it be something not too barbaric, because you don't want to do that at the very first get-go, because these guys are probably going to have more matches.
Yeah, this can't just be this is not going to be a one and done match.
Right.
So
First one has to be
build.
just,
so you're going to have maybe no disqualifications, maybe just a straight match.
Right.
You know, and then it's like you're going to get to, you know, the first match, there's going to be someone's going to win by a technicality, and then they're going to say, to eliminate that technicality, we're going to do this kind of match.
Right.
It's got a classic build. But no, it was that was great. I was definitely a fan of that, and I would say that's probably the closest thing to a high spot, really, because nothing
everything
really,
else just kind of...
Well, to say nothing really stood out.
No.
Throughout the week.
We knew that Bailey was going to win against Piper Niven. I will say I was somewhat surprised that Alba Fire and Isla Dawn won the tag titles. Somewhat. I had thought that it was going to happen, but I didn't really think.
I knew that a what do you call it? I don't want to say foreign, but I knew that
a hometown hero.
That a hometown hero was going to take some gold. So when I saw Alba and Isla win, I knew I didn't like it, because I knew right then and there that Drew was not winning the title.
Right. Well, we knew that wasn't going to happen from the beginning.
Well, there was a part of me that thought maybe he wins the title, you know, and then CM Punk comes out and, you know, they face off or whatever. I wasn't expecting the Scottish screw job.
Nah, see, I was expecting it from the get-go.
So at the end of the day, like, there was, like, you know, the 1% of hope that I thought that Drew might have won the title went out the door when that happened.
Right.
But yeah, no, it was a decent pay-per-view. I mean, High Spot again. These international crowds, dude.
I love it.
I
hate that we don't get to see them here in the U.S., but honestly, for premium live events, I'd rather see.
Dude, that crowd is they're hot, man.
Oh, yeah.
And that makes the match so much better to watch.
Yes.
I love
that they didn't censor them this time.
No, they did not. They let it go, and man, those guys took advantage of that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yep. So
yeah, I absolutely loved it. I still say the French crowd was the better of the crowds.
Yeah, but also it was way bigger.
True.
The French crowd was, I want to say, like 20 or 30,000 people more. So I mean, imagine if that Scottish crowd was 3 times bigger.
Yeah, true. But yeah, no, I'm loving it. And then next one, we got Money in the Bank in Toronto, I believe. And so another international crowd, but I don't think it's going to be as
Quebecois.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know what that means. Hopefully, we didn't offend any of our Canadian audiences.
The Quebecois is the French Canadians.
Oh, okay. I don't know French.
Uneducated dolt.
Hey, I took Spanish for 2 years in high school.
Alabama public education.
But anyway, guys, that's our episode for this week. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching. If you haven't yet, go subscribe to our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and you can find all our content on YouTube. Like I said, we got 2 upcoming events going on. The Guardians Legacy Summer Bash this weekend, June 22nd at Rosenwald High School Gym in Panama City, Florida. Doors open at 6. Event starts at 7. DCCW Heatwave, June 29th. Baker County Fairgrounds, McClenny, Florida. Doors open at 5:30, and the event starts at 6:30. We hope you come to these events. We hope you check them out. We'd love to see you there. But like we always say, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And as always, keep it 5 stars.